Well, let's take a look at calculating maybe a sales order. So create a sales order entry. So do a file, new project, choose Windows Form application, and I'll call this example sales order entry. When I do too much exciting with this, there's a lot of code you can put in terms of like storing it in a database, retrieving it from a database, and so forth. We're not going to go into that kind of depth. Okay, well, I'm going to have my different items here, and then I'll have a box for quantity, and then I'll have a total per line item, and then our total at the bottom. Maybe figure sales tax too. Okay, so I'll drop a label on here, and I'll have 3 items you can order. So I need 3 labels. And I'm going to highlight all of those, do my rectangular select, and I want to change the font, change them all to 20. And this first one, I'll change its text to hammers. Change this one to screwdrivers. And this last one I'll change to what else is there? Chisels. Chisels. I mean, I can spell it. Chisels. Okay. Now we need a box to the side of them so they can put in the quantity. But maybe the price should be included in this. So in the hammers, let me put inside of parentheses. How much does a hammer cost? I don't know. Let's say $7.82. And screwdrivers is going to be let's say $2.31. And chisels will be $5.11. Okay, now this will work because this is for documentational purposes only. But thinking down the road where we're pulling this information from either a file or maybe from even better, from a database, we don't want that in the same field as these. But again, it's okay for now. But actually, let me go ahead and change it. So we drop a couple more labels. Actually, I'll copy that and then paste it. There we go. And I'll change its text. Get rid of the hammers part. Oftentimes in business, parentheses around it indicates a negative. So I don't want it to be a negative amount. Okay, I'll come over here and I'll go ahead and get rid of that 782. There we go. This one I'll copy. Right click on it, choose copy. Right click in empty space, choose paste. And I want to get rid of the screwdriver part there. There we go. And then here I'll get rid of these. Now we're going to find that maybe those dollar signs will cause us some troubles. I left them there because I want to see, because I really don't know the answer to that. Okay. And then chisels here. And do a back to get rid of that. There we go. And here I'll get rid of the price. Okay, so it's no longer buried within the description. They're separate. I'm going to highlight those and move them over. And then I have a quantity. So I probably want to label up above it. And let me delete that. Sometimes it's easy when you got your font selected on these. You can right click on one of these and choose copy, and then right click and choose paste. And I'll put that up above there and have that say quantity. QTY. Now I want some text boxes there. And let me move these down a little bit. Just that touch. There we go. And our text boxes. Now, I'll move that up there. Another text box. Down there, another text box. There, but I want to change them all. Oops, didn't mean to double click that, but that's okay. Come over here. I just click the tab to go back. And then I want to select those. And then I want to choose that to be a font of 20. If you're wondering, well, what did you just create there? You know, you click there by accident, and make sure everything lines up here. There. And that one's lined up at the top. Yeah, okay. And that one will be lined up at the top. Okay, everything's perfect there. I want this in the center. When I clicked that by accident, it created a Form 1 load. And we're going to talk more about this later, but you see there's a private and there's a void, Form 1 load. And then these are some parameters that you can pass in. And then it has a beginning curly brace and a closing curly brace to end that code. If I want to get rid of that, I can highlight it and then press my delete. Now when you do that, it doesn't like something I did. Because, let me come back here and do an undo. There we go. I suspect because under here I had this point in the Form 1 load. So I clicked the Form 1 time, I came over to the lightning bolt here for events, and I have Form 1 load. Let me get rid of it here. Normally I don't actually delete those, because they don't hurt anything. And let me delete that, and see how that works. Okay, that looks better. We had to unattach it from the event over here. Now, you want to be careful. This is what I was going to say. If you grab this one by mistake and press delete on that, all of a sudden the braces do not line up. And then when I go to run this, and you see an error right down here to begin with, if I run it, it'll say there were build errors. And you always say no there, don't say yes. If I go back to my code, when you have a beginning curly bracket, like this one here, you have to have a closing curly bracket. So there's one beginning, there's another one beginning, and there's another beginning. There's 3 beginning ones. Now actually when I select this one, notice what happens. It highlights which one it thinks is a closing one. So that's a closing one for Form 1. If I choose this one, it says that's, and you see how this got this highlighted, it thinks it's a closing one for this form. So easy enough, you put another closing one there, and that'll get rid of that error. Okay. So we got our quantity here. I could put a times here if I wanted to. So if I do a label, let me just copy this one. Right click on that, choose copy. Right click and choose paste in the white space. And I want to change the text, so come over here to the properties. Change that to times symbol. And I put that right there. Now I can right click on it and choose copy, and then right click and choose paste. Move that up to where I want. Right click on it, choose paste. Put that where I want. Right click on it, choose paste. Come over here and I do an equals. Now these are strictly for display purposes. Now I'm going to copy that. So right click on it, choose copy, right click, paste. You can see I'm doing this a lot faster than if I were to create brand new ones each time. And paste. Now over here is going to be my total. So it's going to multiply this times this. So I need 3 labels, because I don't want them to be able to edit this. I just want them to edit the quantity. And I guess I could have duplicated the label again. Let me delete that and do that. Okay. Grab hammers, right click, copy, come over here, right click, paste. Now I want to change the text on this to be like pound, 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 like that for amount. I'm not sure if business-wise that's the appropriate one, but we'll go with it. I'll right-click on this, choose copy, and then right-click, choose paste. Right-click in the white space again, choose paste, or gray space, I guess. And line everything up. Okay. Well, let's first do some coding for that. After I change quantity, then I want this to be updated. Sometimes this is a little hard to figure out what this should be. Sometimes if you program the wrong event, you'll have it give you an error. Well, if I click this first quantity here, and I come over to my lightning bolt, there's text change, and that sometimes has messed me up. Really, I'm looking for something where I leave the blank. So let's see, let's look for something that kind of reads that way. Yeah, I don't know how to make any way of those larger. Leave. What does leave say? Occurs when a control is no longer the active control of the form. That kind of looks like what I want. So let me choose that one. Now this is what I'm going to program. So let me just double click the white space here. And you see it gives it the name text box 1 leave. Now maybe I don't want to call that text box 1 though. So let me come back to the tab here. In this text box, I want to change this name. So I'll go back to the properties. Scroll up to the top. And I'll call this TB underscore hammers quantity. Now let's click back to our form. It still says text box 1 leave. But if I go back to my, that's my code. Go back to my form, I have this chose. If I go to the events and I look for leave, notice it says text box 1 leave. So that's fine. The fact that I renamed the component does not necessarily break my code, because this still says text box 1 leave. Now if I don't like that name, then I can come here under leave and delete that, unattach it from the leave. Come back to my code over here. It actually deleted it. That's good. I wonder why that first one didn't. And it's gone. Now, if you're wondering, oh, did it work? If you click Start, it'll give you an error if it left the code in there. Maybe I typed something on that other one. Okay. Now, if I come over, I got this one selected. If I come to Leave, under the Events, Leave means I'm leaving the component, which means I got tab to the box, and then after I get done, I either tab out of it or I click out of it with my mouse. So double click that. And now it says TB underscore hammers quantity leave. Okay. So we got that code waiting for us to put something behind it. Let's go back to our design. This is where I want it to be updated. So I want to give this a new name. So go to my properties. Scroll up. And I'm going to call this LB underscore subtotal. Now what would this go? Line total for hammers. So I'll say line totals hammers. Okay, so they're going to put the quantity in here. We're going to multiply it times 782 and put the result here. That's our goal. So let me go back to my code, come over here, and when I leave it, then I want to put it into a integer, probably. We're going to talk about some difficulties there. And this is going to be, let's say, hammers quantity. And I'll say hammers quantity is equal to TB underscore. And then you see got hammers quantity dot text. Now, I do a tab to finish that, and I put a semicolon. Semicolon ends your line. Now it gives me an error here because remember the text is a string, so I need to do a conversion. Now this is an integer, so I do int dot parse beginning parentheses, and whenever you put a beginning parentheses, you have to have a closing parentheses. So I'll come after the text and put a closing parentheses. How do I know this so well? I've done it over and over. You know, I can't encourage you enough to just program as much as you can. The more programming you get, then this just becomes second nature. Now let's run this and just see. I'm not done yet. So then I'll say LB line totals is going to equal to my quantity times $7 and what was it? $7.82. I'm not gonna put dollars there though. Let me put $7.82. And that won't work because I need to have a double. Can't write it directly out to the component. You have to create a variable first. Double, and this will be my hammers subtotal, line total. So then down here, I got hammers line total equals hammers quantity times 72. Okay, that looks better. Now we need to put in the label. So LB underscore line totals hammer. I did a tab to do the code completion. Dot text equals hammers line total. Now this, I was waiting for the error. This right here is a double. It means it has decimals. The text is a string. So over here I need to do a dot to string. Beginning parentheses, closing parentheses. And we'll come back to the formatting on it, but let's just test that and see. Okay, so if I put 3 in here, and then I do a tab to leave that. See how it updates that? If I come back to this blank, put a 4 in, and I click outside, see how it updates that. So it appears to be working, and those numbers seem reasonable. I shouldn't need to do any rounding, because if this has 2 decimal places and my quantity only has none, then that'll work. Now it's possible you can, if I put 5.18 here for the quantity and do a tab. See how we just broke it? It says was not in the correct format, input string. And I'll go ahead and click a break here. And sometimes when it's still running, you can come up here and click the stop debugging, or probably it's under the debug here where you stop debugging. We said it was an integer, so we were doing an int parse. So if we enter in something that has decimals, it will break it. So if you're not quite, and we'll get into the error handling and so forth, but if you're not quite sure if it should be an integer or double, automatically make it a double, and then that'll handle any cases it might come up. Okay, now it's bad that we hard-coded 782 in the code. You never do that. It's even not going to be real great what I'm going to do, but it'll be a little bit better. Remember how I put 782 in its own separate label? We're going to access this in terms of our calculation. So I'm going to give it a name. So I come over here to my properties, scroll up, and I'm going to call this LB underscore hammers price. Now the question will be whether that $sign causes headaches. So let's go back to our code. So I click the code tab. And here, instead of 782 hard coding it, I'm going to put in LB hammers price. Now, unfortunately, if I did this, it would give me an error. Because hammers price is a label, so that's a component. So then I put .txt. This will also give us an error. Because .txt is a string. And you can't multiply hammers quantity, which is an integer, times a string. You can, instead of creating a separate variable, you can put your code all within here. So here I can do a double.parse my beginning parentheses, then I'll go after the text and put my closing parentheses. If you're just going to use it in one place and you're not going to reuse it again, instead of creating its own variable, you can come here and do this right here. It's not bad. It's not bad programming. Good programming actually uses a minimal amount of resources that is necessary to, and still have it very readable. And that's a big part. Have your program readable. Okay, now let's run it, and we'll see if that $ gives us headaches. Okay, so I put 3 here and press tab. Blah 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 was not in the correct format. Okay, let's click break and let me click the stop debugging button here. I'm guessing it's the $, but maybe I have other issues. So I'm gonna come to the text of 782, get rid of the $. Okay, so let's see if that works. Well, if it does work, then I'll talk about how you could put a $, there if you really want one. Put 3 in there, press tab. That's working. So it doesn't like the $. If you want a $, there, you can put another label right in front of it that its only text is a $. Let's come here. And I'll get rid of that $. And I'll get rid of this $. Okay, now this code is working now. And these other 2 bits of code are going to be pretty much the same idea. So let me come here, and I'm going to highlight this code. Notice I do not highlight the beginning curly bracket and closing curly bracket. Those will be provided for you when you create the new events. Now right-click on these and choose copy. Go back to my design. Now I need to rename these. Remember how I called this TB_hammers quantity? I'm going to give this one a name. I'll call this TB_screwdrivers quantity. I'll call this one TB_chisels quantity. Like that. These I want to give names. This one I called, what I call it? LB_hammers price. So this one I'll call LB_screwdrivers price. You can actually call them whatever you want. You call them XYZ. Good programming practice means you give them meaningful names and makes your program easier. This one will be LB_chisels price. Okay, now we want to program the leave event of this one. So if I come over here, if I click the lightning bolt and go to leave and double click that, and then I'll paste that code in that I copied from the other location. Then I can change this to screwdrivers. I can, and I'm gonna, everywhere I have hammers, I'm gonna change it to screwdrivers. I'm always real careful doing an edit replace all. I'd rather type it myself because I've screwed that up enough programming wise where it went through and changed 100 other occurrences and I didn't realize it. And then I saved it, I had no way to back it out. And this one was called TB_screwdrivers, I think. Quantity. We'll know when we go do a down arrow. It'll give you a red squiggly. And you notice that all these have red because I declared these in the this code up above here. That's the only place you can use it once I declare them up here. Screwdrivers line total. Screwdrivers quantity. Some people would say they don't like the fact that I'm being too wordy here. I choose readability over conciseness in my programming. LB line totals screwdrivers. I don't think I renamed that one, so that's probably going to give us a red squiggly. And this one will be called screwdrivers line total 2-string. There we go. And like I said, that one I didn't rename. So if I come over to my code, this one I called LB_line totals hammer. So this one I'll give a name. I'll go back to my properties. LB underscore line totals screwdrivers. And this one I'll call LB line totals chisels. Okay, let's go back to our code and see the red squiggly's gone. Yes, it is. Okay, so now I need to put the next code. Now, just by manually typing in this another private void, it would not create the connection between that and the component. So really, I think is easier. If you choose your component, you come over to the events, and you double click which one you want to program. And we're programming leave again, so we leave it blank. So I'll double click that. And then I'll do a paste. Shift insert. Control V I think does it too. And we're dealing with chisels here. Chisels. And what am I doing there? Let's try that again. I used this keyboard. I probably complain about this keyboard all semester. And maybe I'll eventually quit whining about it and get used to it. I'm just going through and replacing all the hammers with chisels. I'm not typing real fast or anything. I just edit copied the chisels and I'm pasting it in after I highlight the appropriate bit of code. There we go. Paste that in there, and then you have to make sure you change all of these. And just about there. There we go. Oops. Okay, so let's run this. Go back to my design. I press start. And put 3 in here. I'll do a tab. It goes down here. Put 5 in. Then put 2 in. And yeah, that all looks reasonable. Now I want a subtotal down here. Maybe I could even put a tax if I wanted to. Put a tax right here and have it figure the tax in subtotal. I'll just do a subtotal. I think you kind of get an idea. Now for subtotal, I want to drop on, sometimes they have a horizontal rule. And if you don't see something under your common controls, you can go to the, there's a place where you can list all of them. Oh, there it is. All Windows forms. And I don't remember if Visual Studio has a horizontal rule. I don't see it. Horizontal rule would be like a line. But that's okay. I'm going to collapse that, and I go back to common controls, and I'm going to add on a label. And for this label here, let me go ahead and change its font to 20. There we go. And I want to change it to the text to say equals. Equals, equals, equals. Like that. Maybe lines. Trying to figure out. Yeah, it doesn't look too bad. Then I want subtotal underneath here. Now I want it to be another label because I don't want them to have any kind of access to this. I just, when they put in quantity, it goes ahead and calculates everything. Where's my labels? There it is. Okay. Though actually, I keep forgetting. You can right-click one of these labels and choose copy, and then right-click down here and choose paste. And initially, pound signs is fine for this, but I'm going to give it a name of LB underscore total. Now, when I do any kind of change here and it updates these, I also want it to update the total down here. So let's go back to our code. And from each one of these, we're going to calculate the total. So I'll do LB underscore total. And now this is going to be a .text. That's my string. And I want to add together all the quantities that I have listed. or not quantities, but the line items. So I'm going to do, and there's different ways you can do this, but I'm going to do a double dot parse, and then I can put in LB, my line totals for the hammers, dot text, then plus double dot parse, put a beginning parentheses, LB line totals for screwdrivers. Let's try it again. LB line totals for screwdrivers, and I did a tab for completion, dot text, plus double dot parse, and then LB line totals for chisels, dot text. Now there's a problem with this. I've converted them all to doubles, but I'm assigning them to a text. So what I can do here is if I do a beginning parentheses at the very beginning here, and a closing parentheses at the very end, then I do a dot to string, beginning parentheses, closing parentheses, then that should take care of it. Now I haven't put this in the other code yet. Let's first see if it works. No use to copy it to the other two if it doesn't work. Okay, so I come here, I put 3 in. Doesn't like something, doesn't it? Input string was not in the correct format, because the other ones were pounds to begin with. We got a potential problem with that then. So let me go ahead and click a break, and I'll do a stop debugging. Well, that's easy to fix. Instead of these being these weird pound signs, let me put zeros there for the text. Now, if I want to change all of them once, again, I can do the rectangular select and change this to zeros like that. Is that as easy to read? No, but we haven't covered some of the other ways of doing these. Now let's try it. Yeah, did it go? Now it's gone. Okay, so now I put 3 in here, and you see it updated this. Put 4, 5, and if I come back here, put 31, then it updates this down here. Okay. Now, did those add up to 277.21? 251, yeah, that looks right. So I want to copy that code. So I go back to my code here, and this line that appears to be working now, I can copy it. So I'll go home and highlight the line. So I'm doing shift, and then press my end key if I ever locate my end key. End. I don't see an end key, so let me just do arrows. Highlight that line. Then I can do a Control C, and then you can do a Control V in these lines of code. Now you want to put it in the right place. It's got to be contained within the braces. There we go. And then I'm going to put it in this one too. Okay, now let's run this and see. Okay, so put 3 here, updates that, 4 updates, 2 updates. I didn't like what it did there, if you noticed. 32.7. I really want that as 2 decimal places always. Well, let's go back. If I come over here to into the line, it's kind of a long line. The toString, remember we can put a format specifier in here. You can do N2 to put 2 decimal places, rounded 2 decimal places. Not only rounded 2 decimal places, but show 2 decimal places. Same here. And same here. Okay, now let's run this. Put 1 in here, 2 in here, 3. And I'm trying to figure out how to try to get one. Put 0 there. And put 10 here. How about 10 there? No. 0 here. There it is. 2310. Now I don't like the fact these just say 0 and the 23.1, so I want those two decimal places too. So I can come back here and where I do my two string to put those out there. Then I can come here and put my N2 also. Into here and into here. Okay, now let's run this. And if I put 3 in here, let me put input string was not in correct format. Okay, so break that, and I'll stop that. If you're wondering why that occurred, I did a shift tab to go backwards, and there was nothing in here. So I tried to convert a blank to a double or integer, whatever I have it declared as, and doesn't like that. So initially, maybe I want to put zeros in here until I do some more exception handling. So let me select these. I click the first one, I hold my control key down, select this one and this one. Now if I come over to my properties, for my text, let me put 0 in and press enter. Okay, now I'll run it. And it shouldn't break in that manner anymore. Put 5 here. Okay, there's my 0.10, that's what I wanted. And 2 and 3. Okay, that looks like it's working now. Now some notes. By putting the price in a separate label, I could, in theory, bring that in from a database or in from a like a spreadsheet file. So when they run the application, it's not hard-coded, but it brings it in on the fly. And then I could have a print down here, such that they could print this off and mail it in, so forth. But anyway, that shows you a, and you see it says Form 1 up here. I probably should change that title, but that's okay. This shows you kind of how to create a basic data entry. Notice I did not put a button on here at all, did I? I programmed to leave. Part of programming a Windows application is you don't think of it so much in terms of programming just buttons, but you think of it as the interaction of the computer program. And you think what makes sense to the program. You know, buttons may not make sense because you maybe have to click 4 buttons to do the same thing as just doing a tab and leaving a blank. But anyway, that's an example of data entry. And just for completeness sake, let me change the title in the form to say sales order entry. There we go. A little bit more user friendly. I'll save that. I'll click the 2 little icons here, save all, and file, close solution to close that.